Hello, MKL people. It is I, Doc with the Glock. And I am doing the Week 2 Power Rankings. And doing this live, unedited, because it's going to be easier for me. And I'm going to go over all 32 teams, basically, and try and go as in depth as possible and um, hopefully create a nice MKL power rankings because sometimes these can be very low effort. I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with the Bears. So Nico, he's a user that has made the playoffs previously. I don't think he's made it so far this season. As I'm looking through the team, let's see. Let's go to MKL homepage and players, rookies only team, Bears. All normal dev rookies doesn't really help improve his team. This running back seems pretty good, but he has Rashad White already, so pretty big L of a draft class. I don't think he's really made any moves in this offseason in particular. I know he typically tries to go get offensive linemen. I do believe he has a top tier offensive lineman. So, Kyron Williams, wow, this guy sucks. I'd probably start this guy over Rashad. Wide receiver room is okay. This Mason Tipton guy should probably start. But Rome and DJ Moore, not really ideal. Actually, they are ideal, but DJ Moore is getting up there in age, and your wide receiver 1, 2, 3 are fine, but if one gets injured, I don't think I want KJ Hamler on my field. Tight end is Cole Kmet. Could definitely be a little bit better, but he is 6'6", 85 speed, so that's fine. Left tackle, Darisaw, Thune, Linderbaum, Skoronski, and Darnell Wright. Yeah, like I thought, the team's alright. I swear this dude ended up on Nico's team last year, this Felix Enaduge Uzama. Austin Booker is a guy I like in real life, but really good D-line, interior D-line. What the fuck are? It looks like Nico just signed a bunch of mentors to get this guy. Does he get inside stuff? He most certainly does. Did he just get a dev? Hold up. I swear this is something that Nico wanted done. NFC North. Sorry. Alright, what the fuck ever. This guy should get better abilities. I think that's one thing he requested. Noah Sewell. Linebackers don't really matter. These guys both suck. They're not tall, and they don't have devs. Oh, Jared Verse, that's a good edge rusher. Orgy. Alright, so that's alright. Jalen Johnson, so yeah, a bunch of DBs who are actually really good. This Lindsey Vick dude, I thought was going to be like an X Factor coming out of the draft. He's still normal dev, which sucks for Nico. Carla Gordon, I know he did sign Juju Brents in the free agency, and he's actually a pretty good safety at 6'3". Jaquan Brisker, and not really anyone else. So, with Nico's rookie draft class and free agency acquisitions and the history and just where his team's at, where I would put him, he is in a very hard division, but given Nico's history, I'd say potential wildcard team. I know he just paid Caleb, I feel like. Yeah, so he kind of has to get into the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me if he does miss, but I'm hoping he gets in the playoffs just for some parity across the league. And I'm actually going to do this by division. Fuck alphabetical order. So, Bears next. We're either going to have we have the Lions. So we have Spit. Spit actually drafted some really amazing QBs. This Eric Freeman and Brian Resner are literally clones of each other. Same speed, same excel, same throw power, same everything, except you got Reisner to X Factor. I think Reisner actually has probably the good stack you want. Yeah. Um, so QB A plus plus, what you want. Running back, he somehow hasn't gotten Gibbs to Dev. And then his receiving weapons are pretty elite. You know, Jamison Williams, elite. Amon Ra, he's not the fastest, but he has like 99 everything as far as route running. Rashee Rice is a good number 3. Um, and Sam Laporta, amazing. I know this offensive line sucks a little bit. Here's Charles Cross, Deion Griffin. That's a good left side, but after that, everything is a little bit lackluster. DeJuan Jones really hasn't developed, and then D-line, I believe he has 4 superstar D-line. Yeah, he has Aiden Hutchinson, Jay Reinhardt, Ali McNeil, who went to superstar in the offseason, and he traded for Kalijah Cansey. So that's really good. He has extra edge rushers like Boye Mafe, who's kind of being wasted here, 87 speed, 91 XL. That could be a guy on the trade block. Really surprised this guy isn't superstar either. Jack Campbell. He is slow, but he's 6'5", so if you got Lurker for him, he'd be pretty elite. And this Devin Favors looks pretty good as an edge rusher as well. Corner, abundance of corner. It wouldn't surprise me if Terrion Arnold is a guy that gets shopped around, because you have Nehemiah Pritchett, who's star dev up to 96 speed. You have this Cam Hart, who's star dev 93 speed. Daniel Ballantyne, who's 90 speed, 6'3". He'd be a good guy to play in your slot. And then Afitu Melifonwu, I know went to Super X Factor actually, which is really good for him. That this is probably his user that he uses, and then just some low quality backups at free safety. And so with Spit, where I'm at with Spit is I think he's made the playoffs every single season, and he has really close games. But the thing with Spit, he's either gonna play very well or very poor. He has no consistency or middle ground. He just has a really high floor. I mean, really low floor and really high ceiling. Like, he's someone that can beat steady 1 week and then lose to like a T-Chap the next week. So he is 0-1 to start the year, and I do believe he is going to play his game. And how I'm going to do this is I'm probably only going to have 14 teams up here just because that's how many make the playoffs. And Spitz, he has a really excellent team. Anytime you have a receiver with 99 speed and a defensive line that has 4 abilities, you're going to probably make the playoffs more often than not. And Spit's an alright user, so I'm probably going to put him in playoff team, which leaves us to our next team, which is the Packers. I mean, I think this is a pretty obvious thing. Jordan Love riding the bench again. I believe Justin McPherson is being used. Yeah, 93 throw power, 81 speed. That's actually pretty good. Let's take a look at the Packers rookies. So Justin McPherson, star dev left tackle. Everything else is pretty ass. This running back's pretty good, 93 speed. This wide receiver is whatever. Steady missed a lot. Steady missed a lot on this draft. I know he traded some guys too. I'm very surprised that he's not starting him. And then we get to the wide receiver court. Trades for Xavier Worthy. Sends a bag. Some people didn't like that trade because it's steady getting a 99 speed receiver. But the value he sent for this guy was very well worth it for T-Chap in the end. But 6'5" Christian Watson with 97 speed. Xavier Worthy with 99 speed. And then Danny Gray's pretty ass. He's whatever. And then a bunch of high-quality backups. So wide receiver core is elite. Trades for Kyle Pitts last year. Says goodbye to Luke Musgrave. And receives Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was huge in helping him on that Super Bowl run last year. And then Steady's offensive line is actually really elite. It's something he's been focusing on for 2 seasons now. He's been training his tackles, trying to get devs. Zach Tom's really good, doesn't have the dev though. This Elton Byrne is really good. Jordan Morgan has a dev. He has Elton Jenkins as a backup. Dylan Parham and Glenn Mills, who does have a dev. And then Steady's D-line is very elite. Rashawn Gary is really good. Rook Aurora is very good. Then you get to Lucas Van Ness, very good. And only thing that he's really missing is a defensive tackle, but I do believe he has an inside stuff on this Rook Aurora. Yeah, inside stuff. And then linebackers, this entire defense is just stacked. This Luke Calhoun's very good. Edrin Cooper is a great user. Christopher Bell's a great user. Pat Mack's a great user. So Steady's going to be someone who blitzes a lot, and all of these guys are going to get home quick. And then on the backside, you have Eric Stokes, superstar, Kalen Barnes, MVP, Super Bowl MVP, 98 speed, and then Taylor Polk with 96, Terrence Hicks with 96, and Javelin Guidry with 97, and Dwayne Hickman with 95. It's going to be very hard to beat this team over the top. You have Eli Middlebrooks, who's elite. This guy who's 6'2", 90 speed, and then Steady's user, Lewis Seen, who's 94 speed, 6'2", and Tyler Freeman and Nolan Turner. So speed everywhere. You know, this is probably a Mutthead's Christmas list. And on paper, this is probably the most elite team other than the Falcons as far as dev and speed-wise and QB-wise. So with the Packers, I am going with Super Bowl favorite, the top of the top user, top team, builds his team well. And one thing that I really like about this year that we did is these abilities, we're not taking away people's devs, so eventually it's going to get to a point where Steady can't pay all of his guys who have devs, or he's going to have to trade them away. So it's going to help teams like the Dolphins or like the Panthers, who don't have a lot of guys with devs, acquire some, either through free agency or like trading. So next team with the NFC and last team is this Vikings. Already don't like this team because you traded Justin Jefferson for a 30-year-old A.J. Brown and a second-round pick. Terrible move. The value you'd get for Justin Jefferson is immense. So starting off, that's bad. QB went and traded for DJ Hanna, which I like the move. He's a superstar. But week one, he had a QB controversy. Played, I feel like, all three of these guys. And I feel like DJ Hanna is the one with the dev. If you're not going to start McCarthy, there's no reason to start Bryce or this Jeremy Weber. Does he even have a dev? He does have a dev. So that might change things a little bit. So let me take a look at these Vikings rookies too. So their draft, they got their star QB. Feels like a waste of a pick a little bit because you do have DJ Hanna, who you went out and traded for. Star right guard, nice. Wide receiver, that's dog shit slow and only 5'11", pretty terrible. This wide receiver with 95 speed, amazing. And if you guys did not know, wide receivers who are shorter are better this year because they don't run terrible routes and tall wide receivers do. So, looking at QB, all right. Trades for Jalen Wright absolutely fleeces the hell out of Stinky Sock to get this guy. Insane that I saw Jalen Wright go from the Chargers, considering Jalen Wright seemed to be the Chargers' entire offense at some point. Jalen Warren's a good backup. Don't really care. Jordan Addison, very good wide receiver. And Khalil Shakir seems like he's on a waste of a contract. This A.J. Brown trade, I just can't get over. It was super terrible. I didn't see the reason for trading for A.J. Brown. But nevertheless, this Sterling Quinn guy seems pretty good. Doesn't have a dev, but could become elite. And you, in this year's Madden, or any Madden, you just want a guy to help take the top off, and he should be starting alongside Jordan Addison. And honestly, I'd I wouldn't even start AJ Brown. I'd probably start Shakir and hope to get a dev or something. Even though Shakir's 27, never mind. He's too old too. Then you have aging TJ Hawkinson, who's only going to get worse and get slower. 84 speed kind of sucks. And then I know the offensive line is pretty elite for this Vikings team. It's actually quite mid. They have a really good defensive tackle, I know. This guy is very well developed. He'll eventually get inside stuff and become super elite, only 24. Drake Greenlaw shouldn't be seeing the field, but I feel like he's starting. Terrell Bernard signs Terrell Bernard in free agency, able to pick him up. 6'1", does have superstar dev and is 86 speed. Isaiah Knight, that seems like a quality user too. Dallas Turner, probably the heart and soul of this defense as far as edge rushing. And then you do have some slow DBs, but they have devs. You know, Carlton Davis, Greg Newsome is probably the one guy you'd want on your team. And then free safety, slow everywhere, and not anyone I'd really want. So I know the Vikings do have a quality user in them, and you know, as far as where I'm at, the team needs to develop a quarterback before they do anything, and that should be their sole focus. You know, sometimes it's okay to focus on developing your players instead of making the playoffs, and I think that's what this Vikings team needs to do. Develop your QB, whichever one that's going to be, and hopefully you can move up a tier by next season, and you know, just figure out what you want to do with your team and have a plan. The worst thing to do is play your games and not have a plan and just kind of hope you win. So that concludes with the NFC North, and so let's go on to the AFC North next. So AFC North here, we got the Steelers. Absolutely fleeced the Browns right before the playoffs. Right before the draft to draft a super elite wide receiver. Let's look at their rookies. I know they got a really good one. This Earl Trotter, 97 speed, 5'11", really elite guy. And all he had to give up was George Pickens and pick 20-something. Really terrible by the Browns, because George Pickens is like, 89, 90 speed, and he took on his entire contract and basically gave this guy up for pennies on the dollar. Other than that, this draft is pretty fucking ass, if you ask me. And then, big thing is, he traded for Trevor Lawrence. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is the better QB. Oh, and he has ETN too from Season 1. And trades for L'Jarius Sneed as well. So, this team is elite. We called this the buzzsaw, something started by Steady, and this team is even more of a buzzsaw. You know, Trevor Lawrence gets an upgrade at QB, moving off of Justin Fields, has ETN still, and he is a runner. Dante Cruz, 6'9", 88 speed. Speed doesn't matter if you're 6'9", you can just moss people. Other than that, you know, Earl Trotter and Dante Cruz seem to be the only quality wide receivers I'd want on my team. Does have a very old Cooper Kupp. Darnell Washington is a guy I really like too, 84 speed, 6'7". Broderick Jones has developed pretty nice. This guard's developed nice. Ragnow, he went and traded for. Robert Hunt looks okay. And superstar Troy Fatanu. Yeah, very elite offensive line. You have TJ Watt, who's 32, looks very good. Keanu Benton, who looks very good. Quan Hargrave, who looks very good. Kayvon Thibodeau, who we went and traded for, looks very elite. Demetrius Griffin looks elite. Isaiah Simmons looks very elite. There's just no holes on this defense. You have DeAndre Moore, L'Jarius Sneed, Delonte Shirls, and Alontae Taylor. Who are you going to throw against? Because there's Minkah Fitzpatrick, and maybe you target CJ Gardner-Johnson because the safety. This is the weak point, and CJ is not even that terrible of a player. And knowing where Sniper is, he's a perennial playoff choker despite having one of the best teams, and just being super elite. I'm not going to put him in Super Bowl contender because I just don't think he'll get to Super Bowl this year. So he is going to go in, this is a highly coveted spot. It means you get to get more XP for your players and play for a chance. So Sniper is a solid playoff team who should never miss the playoffs. All right, so we have the Steelers. Let's go to the Ravens. Roster-wise, very elite QB, Lamar Jackson, who's 30. Very aging Mark Andrews, who's getting old. Roquan Smith, who looks good but is getting old. Probably the best user in the game, Kyle Hamilton, but I don't think he uses him, actually. Matabike, who's a lot better in real life and just hasn't developed for him. Zay Flowers looks very good at Superstar. Devontae Walker looks very good. Nate Wiggins, super elite. Odafe Owe, super elite. Keaton Mitchell could be a lot better than what he is, but year one kind of got wasted a little bit. This Courtney Bryson looks okay. His wide receiver looks pretty solid. This Max Cone looks good. This Paul Campbell looks good. Even the 6'4" Steven Johnston looks good. Isaiah Likely looks really good too. He probably should be a bit faster. Oh, this Brian Allen looks great too. Offensive line is 23, 81, 79, 78, 74. Offensive line is a little bit lackluster, but not too much to complain about. The defensive tackle situation looks okay too. Roquan Smith looks elite. And corner room could be a little bit better, but whenever you have Nate Wiggins and anything around him is going to be a good supporting cast. And yeah, here's Courtney Bryson. So Wavy is a guy who made a Super Bowl year 2, has really made some deep playoff runs as well, and made it to a AFC Conference Championship twice, back-to-back years actually. And the team's not as elite as like the Packers or the Steelers, but with the Ravens, I have to put them as a Super Bowl contender. I don't think there's any way I can put them in this team, in this tier, just because he's been probably, other than Stinky, the most consistent user out of the AFC. And the AFC is the lesser conference, so I think this is someone we can see in the Super Bowl again this year. And then, so we have the Ravens, we have the Steelers. Let's go to the Browns. Terrible draft, I think they had. Let's see what the Browns got. So they essentially traded a 97 speed wide receiver for a star dev halfback and George Pickens in his contract. The draft is okay. No superstars anywhere. Not really anything I'm too impressed with. This corner is blah. He's 23. That's a little too old for me to think a guy's gonna develop. That sucks. Did he trade for a QB? No, he's rocking with Will Powell. Will Powell's a very good QB that can develop. Old user traded for Jordan Travis, which seems like a waste now. Running back room is pretty okay. Here's George Pickens, 91 speed. I'm not impressed. Jerry Jeudy, meh. Devontae Adams, meh. This entire team is just a bunch of meh. David Njoku, okay. Penei Sewell is the best player on the team. Best probably offensive line besides maybe the Seahawks. No right. They do have a right guard. Montez Sweat is pretty good, but he is older. Myles Garrett's good, but he's older. No defensive tackle that I'd really want. Carlos Wheeler is okay. Cornerback, still have Denzel, still have Martin Emerson. That's pretty good. Kerry Shivers looks really good. And safeties are okay. You have Jeremy Chin, who's an elite user. I don't know much about this Browns guy, but just based off the trade alone and just where the team's at, don't really have too much abilities or devs. I'm going to go mediocre at... no, I'm going to go young but intriguing. Very very young team with some very old pieces. Think you should try and trade your old pieces and get a little bit younger and get some draft picks, so you can develop your team. Because I don't think there's any way they make the playoffs just based off of the division they're in as well. So I think, trade a guy like Miles Garrett, trade a guy like Njoku and Teller, and try and get younger and reload for another season. All right. And last team, the Bengals. I think this is probably one of the worst teams in the MKL. You have Joe Burrow, who's 30 and old, but his throw power sucks. Um, Let me take a look. I hope they had a good draft class because this team is pretty shitty otherwise. Superstar left outside linebacker, really good. Virgil Blade, X Factor. Okay, this was a really good draft class for them. You get two edge rushers. Yeah, both of these guys are edge rushers. Seems elite. Um, okay, that gives me hope that Cactus can build a competent team. How is this, dude? 91 throw power. Maybe you have the QB of the future here. You have Bijan. So this team is just Jamar Chase, Bijan, and Joe Burrow. Everything else is pretty eh. T. Higgins, okay. Denari, roll, okay. Jermaine Burton, bleh. This guy's okay. Tight end. This Enrique Tart is actually really good, in my opinion. You have a superstar left tackle. Everywhere else is just bleh. You're rolling out a 66 right guard, or, yeah. And then defense, bleh. Trey Hendrickson, old. Get rid of him. But you do have these two linebackers that should be rusting the passer. I have no clue if Cactus is active or not. But user-wise, seems okay. These fucking corners look terrible. Safeties look terrible. So this team, don't like anything about it besides, these two players right here, in Jamar Chase and Bijan. Burrow should probably go number one pick contention. So with that concluded, let's go to the NFC South. Or, we're right here. Let's go to the AFC East. So we have Suzdan. Suzdan has Josh Allen, is not using him. Paid a couple draft visits to see some guys. Ended up drafting this 90 speed. He was playing up to a 92 QB. Really like him. This guy actually has a dev. This Dorian Carroll, he's 6'5", 247. Let's take a look at his rookies and see exactly what he got. So the Bills. Yep, drafted their star QB, really nice. This guy's 6'6", 99 juke, really nice. This tight end, really nice. He ended up picking up this superstar running back out of free agency week 1. And ended up picking up a star right guard too. This team is definitely in rebuild mode. Got rid of Cole Bishop, got rid of Dawson Knox, and I forget who else he got rid of, but you have your QB of the future or other one. So this team is definitely in a good spot. I think he is starting Randy Mumphrey at running back. So 88 speed, not terrible. It has a dev. This wide receiver room does kind of seem like it needs an overhaul. Rashad Bateman seems okay. Jaden Reed seems okay, but this Michael Kramer, does he have a dev? He is 6'6", start of 93 speed, 98 agility, 97 change of direction, 99 juke move. Looks very fun to use. And tight end fixes the room. He let Dalton Kincaid walk as well, and traded his offensive line for some picks, which kind of worked out for him. So his offensive line is a little bit lackluster, but that's something you can fix later on. Gregory Rousseau's very good to have. This Amari Snow looks very cool. Keon White can play inside at defensive tackle, and you do have Ed Oliver still, which looks good. His users look all right. This Leoni Nails looks cool. DB room traded for Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo. So these three are really good to have. His QB room last year was very terrible. Has Devon Bullard. That's okay. This Jelani Dyson looks good. Jale Skinner, 6'4", looks good to use. And TJ Brownlee, he's short but he's fast. And Suzanne went 1 last week. And he has made the playoffs before. And with the Giants, when the Giants weren't good, he has a very elite passing game. Defense is almost non-existent. I am going to say who is in his division. I'm going to say the Bills win their division and are a playoff team. Um, so with the Bills, next we have what the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. So let's go to the Dolphins. Going into the draft, this team had 18 players on their team, very top heavy. A-Chain's very good, Ramsey's very good, Tua's terrible because he's a left-handy, Waddle's very good. So this team is super top heavy with the talent they have. Chop Robinson's good, Junior Colson's very good, Phillips is good, Holland is good. Patrick Paul is due a contract. I'm not sure how you're going to pay him, but almost the rest of all of these guys are just people that got signed through Madden. This James Skinner went in the top 5, and he's very mid. But the rest of these guys just got auto signed by EA, so they're not even going to be good. And it's Fridge. I really like Fridge as a user. Man, this is getting tough because I just put Suzdan as a playoff team. I think he's going to win his division. And I really like Fridge. I don't think there's any way I can hold Fridge out of the playoffs for the AFC. So, I'm putting Fridge as a wild card team as well. Not a potential, but a for sure lock for the playoffs. So we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 AFC teams, which leaves me with 3 left. So let's go over to the Patriots. And Drake May is a very good QB, doesn't have a dev. Had the opportunity to get an X Factor, Cody Alexander. I'm not sure why more teams didn't try to trade for him. His cornerback room looks very good. He does have Jair. Dontavian Wicks is a superstar wide receiver. Christian Gonzalez has a dev. A bunch of really good running backs as well. Tyreek Nixon. So you have 3 superstar corners. You have a aging, dying Jabril Peppers. This wide receiver looks pretty good. Sign Dalton Kincaid, Josh Uche looks okay. Let's take a look at their So they drafted a left outside linebacker that's an X factor. The pretty good draft. 6'1", 91 speed user. That's really good. I don't know much about Harvey. The team doesn't look good. Marte Mapu. I mean DBs look amazing. The linebacker looks amazing. But the QB just seems very mid. I've never seen Harvey play, but I am going to give this a mediocre at best. First team that falls in here. Just because I don't know Harvey. I don't know if he's a good user or not, but it's not a team that I necessarily want to have. The devs are there, but the top end talent is kind of just blah. And there's no one in the wide receiver room or tight end room that I'd really want. And then, what irks me is you had the opportunity to get an X Factor quarterback, and you didn't jump on that opportunity because you have Drake May. Let's go over to the Jets. So the Jets have Sauce, have Brees, have Quinnen, really good. Garrett Wilson hasn't developed. Who's their quarterback? Terrible. Um, Kadarius Toney somehow a superstar. That's terrible. This wide receiver room looks awful. Besides Redmond and Garrett, tight end, whatever. This offensive line doesn't look too terrible. Yeah, the offensive line looks good. You have Jermaine Johnson who looks good. Reddick's old. Quinnen Williams, so this guy looks amazing. Yeah, so again, another team with just top end talent. This Paul Lippett looks amazing. Walt Marion looks great too. Wow, let's take a look at their draft class. Because that Walt Marion's a rookie. What round was this guy drafted? So, it looks like he got... What round? Third round pick, gets an X Factor. He's super slow. 82 speed. 95 speed receiver. So decent draft class. And D'Angelo is a guy who made the playoffs last year, but looking at the schedule, it was very Mickey Mouse-ish. And just because I have the Dolphins and the Bills making the playoffs this year, I'm dropping the Jets down to potential wild card. I think they'd be a team that I'd be surprised to get in the playoffs. But based on their history, I'm just going to put them in potential wild card. And so that was the AFC East. Let's move on to the NFC East, which is... Let's go to the Eagles. Really like this team. Ended up trading for Cody Alexander. A+++ move. Anytime you get an X Factor quarterback that's young on your team, elite. Will Shipley. He is slow, but looks amazing otherwise. Traded for Justin Jefferson. That's another A++ move. Devonta Smith looks very elite too. So Kareem Hoover, amazing. And this team really doesn't have any holes besides tight end. Mailata's up there in age, but this offensive line looks pretty good. Jordan Davis is a guy who's elite. This Nolan Smith, elite. Jalen Carter, elite. Larry Callahan, elite. Will Holt looks elite. Josh Sweat is up there in age, but looks pretty good too. And then cornerbacks, you don't have the devs, but you certainly have the speed and the type of guys that you'd want on your team with Cooper, Quinion, Keeley, Amir Speed. And then safeties, signed Shamari Connor. Devon Hoover looks really good. And Kyle Duggar is a great user to have. Let's look at their abilities. So, draft class. Drafted that superstar defensive tackle, star center, star left end, star fullback. That's A++ move. Another star center. So you have youth on the offensive line. And so who is in the NFC East? We have Goodfellas, we have Wally, we have Grape. And then what other team am I missing? Why can't I remember this? Oh, and the Giants, so bats. You know, the NFC East is a real toss-up for me. I think, honestly, the NFC East probably has the most constructed teams across the board, division-wise. So it's all really going to come down to user and what user I trust more to win their division. And I just played Wally. Runs a lot of man coverage and blitzes, and that can be high quality, high success. Bats has won the division, I think, every year that he's been the Giants. Man, I'm going to give the Eagles the potential wild card spot here. I think they're going to have a good record. The team's really elite. But out of the 7 teams that make the NFC, I'm not sure he can get there. I think he can be the anywhere from an 8 to 10 win team, but in the NFC, I'm not sure that gets you there. If he was in the AFC, I'd say he could easily win his division. All right, so that's where he's going. Let's go over to the Cowboys next. Traded for Tyler Nubin. I like the move. He is slow but tall. He'd be a great user to have. Demarius Davis, another great user to have. Israel Mukumu, so a lot of 6'4" guys. Has Trevon Diggs, looks really good. Deron Bland looks amazing. Kendrick Benson, who had just upgraded to 95 speed, looks good. JT McKinley looks really good too. So DBs are exactly where you want them to be. Linebackers have the speed and height. This is probably the tallest team in the league. Everyone's like 6'2" minimum, 6'3" minimum, I'd say. That's like a starter. Defensive tackle could use some work, but there is a lot of speed here on the defensive line. So if you don't have the ability, speed's really nice. The offensive line is young, but they are coming together a little bit. Best spot is the left tackle. The tight end is this Morgan Whitfield, who's an X factor. Wide receiver room, CD's a little slow, but he has the abilities. You have Romeo Dobbs, this Roman Harding, who's 6'4", so could use probably a better wide receiver 3. But other than that, this team just doesn't really have any holes. Traded for Kenneth Walker year 1, who's a 99 overall, and then this QB Keith Hayes, 84 speed, 91 excel, 93 throw power, has abilities. I just really like the team overall. Pass rush is great. DBs are great. Going to play some really good defense. And so I'm going to say Wally is a playoff team this year. I think Wally's going to win his division and be the third NFC team that makes the playoffs this year. And with that, let's go over to who's in alphabetical order. Probably the Commanders. Yeah, the Commanders. Jaden Daniels really just hasn't gotten the dev. Sam Cosme looks really good. Let's look at his draft. Actually, let's look at the Cowboys draft really quickly because I know they had a really good one. Okay, never mind. Superstar wide receiver that's 84 speed. That sucks. Probably a guy I'd use myself though. And let's say, what team did I say? The Commanders. That's the Colts. Let's go to Commanders. Drafted a star right outside linebacker. That's probably an edge rusher, a corner who's 90 speed, 5'10". A running back. All of this just seems mid. So had a bad draft class. QB really hasn't developed. I think he has a really tough schedule. If I'm honest, Nick Chubb, get rid of him. This wide receiver room is very terrible too. Terry McLaurin sucks. Amari Cooper's 82 speed. Traded for Tavares Herrick, which I really like. Imagine if the Bills had 2 wide receivers with 99 juke move on them. But Tavares Herrick should be the starter. Tyrone Selvey, I guess, needs an upgrade at wide receiver for sure. Ben Sinnott, not cutting it. Taylor Decker looks good. Everything I've just seen so far is pretty mid. Brian Breezy is good. Kobe Turner's a guy. Jonathan Allen's old. Trezon Newton's probably due a contract. No. Jamin Davis, okay. Cornerback Mike Sammer still is an okay slot guy. DBs need some work. Cameron Curl's okay. Yeah, so, this team just doesn't impress me anywhere. What? No. Okay, cool. Would want to see a reset from the Commanders. And I'm just going to say mediocre at best. Don't really have a lot of youth on the team that I'd really want outside of Jaden Daniels on my team and Tavares Herrick. So they're going to go at mediocre at best for now, and that leaves us with the Giants. Really like this team. Traded for Grant Delpit. Jason Pinnock is a superstar. Percy Butler's good. DBs are pretty good too. Very short. Traded for Alex Highsmith. Has Brian Burns, so the defensive line's there. Um, X Factor defensive tackle always helps. Has a superstar tackle, superstar right guard, so superstar left guard, so superstar left tackle. The really good offensive line, superstar Theo Johnson, Malik Neighbors. This dude's really good too, and Jalen Hyatt. So honestly, no holes on this team. Jamichael Allen's really good too. The QB is honestly probably the worst spot that you have on the team, and he's not even bad either. Um, the Giants bats has, like I said, has won the division. I think every year that he's had the team, developed the team really good, drafted a superstar DT and another star QB. Um, I love Bet's team, but and he's made the playoffs. So who do I have here? I have the Lions as a playoff team, the Cowboys as a playoff team. So that's and the Packers. That's three. So this is a wild card team. This is a division winner. Division winner. Do I think Bats? Mm, I'd really have to look at the schedules, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say the Giants. I'll say they're a playoff team. Just the way Bats plays is so high floor. He can't really make mistakes. It's a lot of runs. It's a lot of RPOs. Not a lot of mistakes occur when he plays. Just except when he gets to the playoffs, he has to play people who are a little bit better skilled user wise, and that can lead him to go astray from running the ball or running RPOs. Very nice team. I will say he has developed this team very well off of the back of Suzdan too. But yeah, playoff team. So that was the NFC East. I did the AFC East. Let's move on to the NFC South. And what South? Falcons. Jesse Bates getting up there in age, elite. The real downfall of this team is the quarterback position. Does have 99 throw power, 84 speed. The only issue is this guy is the wrong hand. Region's offense revolves around him rolling out and throwing on the run, and having a guy who is left-handed completely eliminates you from rolling out and throwing on the right side of the field. So having less than 50% of the field to work with is not ideal, despite having the stats that he has. So would not surprise me if he's a guy who hits free agency or is traded at the end of this year. He is due a contract. Raiden said if he doesn't get a dev, he is not going to go after him, not re-sign him. So very interested to see what Michael Penix's future is. This team, year one, fleeced the 49ers for all their best players and look very elite. Isaac Guerrero, 97 speed, very elite. Trent Adams fell all the way to pick 12. I think that is a first in MKL history where a speedy wide receiver falls that far. All the way up to X Factor. Tyler Harrell is 98 speed too. Taekwon, he signed off the practice squad of the Patriots, is very elite too. And Anthony Gold, so speed all around, doesn't have a hole in his wide receiver spot, and traded for Luke Musgrave, who does have the X Factor dev. Unfortunately, got rid of Kyle Pitts, but I think I'd rather have Luke Musgrave, if I'm being honest. Left tackle has a million of them, so I wonder who his starter is. Drew Dahlman's all right. Chris Lindstrom's up there in age. Matthew Bergeron looks okay. Austin Jackson looks okay. Amari Barno, who we users, is 6'6", 92 speed, super elite. Defensive tackle, Jeffrey Simmons and Kenny Clark and Tyree Wilson, all of them look amazing. Arnold Ibikiti, super fast, really good user. Not really good user, really good edge blitzer. Troy Anderson is a very good user, and so is this Van Sumerman. Miles Murphy, elite, very fast edge rushers. DBs have no holes. AJ Terrell, DJ Turner, Emmanuel Forbes, and these backups are no joke either. Free safety has Hufanga, who he fleeced the Niners for, and Jesse Bates, and Quan Martin, who very elite. So Falcons, honestly, gonna go up to Super Bowl favorite. Doesn't have a hole on their offense. Just really hasn't had the string of luck or plays, I guess you would say, to really swing his way and make it to a Super Bowl. Probably a really good team to have. I mean, obviously, and the user's very elite, so I think he is a obvious Super Bowl favorite. So with the Falcons, let's go down to who's next. The Panthers. So the Panthers here look very good, despite what it says on paper. Have a superstar in Derek Brown. Marlon Humphrey looks good. Xavier Leggett looks amazing. Tank Dell. George McLeod looks really good. Jerome Baker, bleh. Quez looks amazing, too. This cornerback looks amazing. This QB is very elite. Joey Barker, another super elite defensive tackle. This safety, 6 foot, is okay. Offensively, I find, even has a superstar tight end. Offensively, I really don't see any holes besides the offensive line, which can be fixed later on. And defensively, you have quite a bit of superstars as well. And then DB wise isn't terrible either. Free safety, Ramon Meekins could be something if you get the right defensive coordinator. And then with Blessed, I'm putting him at a young and intriguing. I don't think necessarily that these teams are better than this tier. I think the future is very bright for this Panthers team. And then, who did they pick up in the draft? Had a boatload of picks, hit on wide receiver, hit on defensive end, hit on tackle, hit on wide receiver, hit on center. So hit on a lot of positions, and not in, Fridge, who previously had this team, said, there's no hope with this team, and I quite frankly disagree. There's a lot of devs and a lot of young players who have potential to become something and make an elite team. So next we have is the Saints. The Saints have a, very surprisingly very good team. Traded for Trey Benson. Dexter Alexander's a very elite player. They have this QB too who has superstar dev, who isn't a joke. Can win you some games. This Miller Jarvis, first time seeing this guy, looks very good as an X Factor. Got me Cole Hardman, which I can't complain anytime he gets speed. Could probably trade Chris Olave to someone, because he seems like he's just wasting away on the Saints. Both of these tight ends look very good. Offensive line doesn't look terrible either. Defensive line has Joey Bosa. Has that guy who looks good. Linebacker room could be a little bit better. Trenton Simpson looks okay. DBs look all right too. Tyreek Stevenson's okay. Kool-Aid's okay. Terrence Bashman looks really good. The fuck? Why does he have a million E's? Eric Vasher. Marquise Wakefield looks good, and Justin Muldrow looks good. These safeties look really good too. And let me see. Yeah, got another superstar QB. Wow. So he has 2 superstar QBs on his roster. Hit on wide receiver, hit on corner. This corner looks really good too. And I think he's going to get a young but interesting too. The team's super young. Got rid of all the old players on his team, and I think if he can develop his team very well, he can end up, in a potential wild card spot. And so our last NFC South team is the Buccaneers. Just traded for J.J. McCarthy after shelling out a lot of money to Kyler Murray, which was a terrible move. Should have never happened. Has Isaac Pacheco, who is really the heart and soul of this team. Wide receiver outside of Trey Palmer is very terrible. Sign Michael Pittman, who I do not like. Javon Baker's okay, but yeah, really needs wide receivers to help this team. Devin Culp's a very elite tight end. Has Tristan Wirf, so his offensive line is going to be okay there. Defensive line traded for Max Crosby last year, which is really good for him. Khalil Mack somehow hasn't retired, and what abilities does this guy have? He's an 86, no outsiders, double or nothing, and reach elite, so he is okay. Still has Vita Vea. This Hoover could be something. And then Peyton Wilson's probably the best user to have in the game, X Factor and 6'4", as far as linebacker wise. And DB wise, could be better. Randy Brewer seems mid. Christian Izzian looks really good. Jamel Dean looks really good. Zion McCollum looks really good. Has Antoine Winfield, who's short but gets really good abilities, and then Tyke Smith, who's really good too. And so this Buccaneers team, all the new people of the MKL, this is a story that's been repeated in MKLs, with people like Mo and people like Hodge, who had 3 wins in Madden 24 and were consistently picking inside the top 10, but have really become elite in playoff teams. Hodge is going to be a playoff team here. I'd even put him over here on this side of playoff teams. I don't think there's any way he misses. But yeah, Hodge has made his way to the playoffs, is a very good user now, and man, things just started clicking for him in Madden 25, and I'm very happy with the progress he's made on his team. So that is the NFC South. Let's go to the AFC South. And the Colts are right here. Best safety room in the league. Javier Cofield, superstar. JT Woods, X Factor, very elite. And you have Nick Cross and Eric Santos, as many safeties as you could want. Traded for Jacorian Bennett year 1, super elite. Darius Slay, 36 years old, but has really, really good abilities. Has deep out and mid zone. This McMillan looks good. O'Tory Jackson's okay. So DB room seems alright. Has some really mid linebackers. DeForest Buckner is really good. And then Latu has developed very well. Offensive line seems okay. Picked up Osiris Torrance. Connor Williams looks good. Jelani Woods, 6'7", X Factor, tight end with 85 speed. That's a S tier player. Donnie Mitchell, another S tier player, 95 speed, 6'2". Jimmy Pitts, 6'3", 94 speed, elite. Daniel Escobar, so wide receiver trio looks elite. Got Marshawn Lloyd, the superstar, and then he has this backup who looks very intriguing as well. That's 21 years old, and Gus Richardson, the superstar as well. So team looks really good. Cookie is going, I'd say potential wildcard team. He is my Mutt Squad's quarterback, and sometimes his decision making just isn't the best if he doesn't have his beaters that beat coverage. If they don't beat coverage, he might throw a pick. So the team's very good. Has pretty much no holes besides maybe D-line and edge. And let's look at these Colts. If it loads. Yeah, drafted another X Factor tight end. Wow. Sam Campbell. I had no clue he signed this dude. Drafted round 3, 79 speed. So he's pretty mid because he's capped out by his speed, but is an X Factor. Okay, Neon just hates me now. Fuck. So Neon's froze, so I have to open this shit again. But very good draft class. Let's move on to the next team, which is the Jaguars. Traded for Justin Fields. Terrible move, in my opinion. Ducky is someone who's made the playoffs, runs a lot of double pass. Traded for Saquon Barkley. He looks very good. He is Saquon. And then wide receivers has Brian Thomas, Anthony Schwartz, and Mike Evans. So could use a little bit of an upgrade in the wide receiver room and the tight end room and the offensive line room besides Zion Johnson. D-line is carrying his defense with Trevon Walker, Josh Allen. Needs some interior guys. Has Yasir Abdullah, so probably plays Trayvon on the inside. Channing Tindall's okay. Traded for him and his terrible contract. Still has Foyesada, Lulucon kicking around. DBs look okay. Has Tyson Campbell and Joey Porter and Daxton Hill. So those guys actually will look really good. Andre Cisco looks very good. Derwin James is elite. Troy Ward looks okay. Let me look at their draft class. But Ducky is a guy who's going to lose to Stinky in the playoffs. It seems very religiously now. Which is very unfortunate for him. Jaguars. Got a superstar fullback and left guard, so his O-line's okay. This safety looks pretty bleh. Do I see this team? So how many teams in the AFC do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Someone has to win the AFC South. I don't know if H. Coke's going to play again. Otherwise, I'd have H. Coke. I'm going to say the Jags win their division just because I don't think H. Coke's going to play, and that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 AFC teams. With 2 more remaining. So out of these guys... Okay. All right, perfect. So 2 more AFC spots remaining. Let me go over to the Titans. Somehow Joe Milton got X Factor and won MVP despite H. Coke not playing his games. Joe Milton, very elite quarterback. Only 1 running back on the roster that's mid. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Austin Etienne, Dante Stallworth. These wide receivers look okay, but H. Coke makes them work. Chigo is the heart and soul of this offense. Chigo is so amazing. If you watched him in his playoff game, I forget how many years ago, probably 2, absolutely destroyed. I think it was the Jaguars. Super elite. J.C. Latham's developed. The offensive line doesn't look too terrible. Defensive line looks very lackluster so far. Devontae Sweat, wow. I'm glad he has a dev because he's super beefy. So Nick Bolton, but yeah, Devontae Sweat super beefy, so he's gonna get a lot of sheds and stop the run. Wayne Lowry seems okay. Roman Wakefield looks amazing. Carlos Cox looks good. Leonard Brackens, yeah. So these DBs are very good too. These safeties look okay, and let me look at this Titans draft. If they drafted anyone that I'm missing, if this ever wants to load. Star DT, star halfback, star right end. So pretty mid draft. H. Coke is a top 5 user here, but it all just depends if he's going to play his games. I'm not sure he's going to play his game, so I'm putting him at the top of potential wildcard spot. He'd be a Super Bowl favorite if he was consistent in playing his games. I don't know if that's the case, so he's just going in potential wild card for now. And that leaves us with the Texans. Shada. And from what I gathered, Shada is playing his games, has CJ Stroud, who's good, Will Anderson's good, Stingley's good. Derrick Henry with 82 XL is still kicking. Nico Collins Stephon, Roman, all of these guys look good. Just need speed in the wide receiver room. These tight ends look okay. Has Larry Tunsil still. Offensive line looks all right. Will Anderson, it's elite. Daniil Hunter's still here. Could use a DT. Brian Cushing, another elite user, just doesn't have the height to put him in that S tier category. DBs look okay too. Derek Stingley doesn't look half bad. Andrew Phillips is okay, has a dev. And Jaden Wheeler looks alright too. Julian Love, still kicking around. Has Petrie, Bullock, Lassiter here. Let me take a look at his draft. So the Texans drafted a superstar corner in Gordon, star left tackle. So they actually had a pretty good draft as well, because H. Coke is I'm not considering him for playing this year. I'm moving Shada into this playoff team spot. So that leaves us with one spot remaining for the AFC in my tiers, and it's going to come down to the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Broncos. And who's left? What? This shit's freaking me out. So we just have the AFC West and the NFC West left. So let's go over to the AFC West because we're here. The Broncos. Bo Nix, he's okay. I don't mind him at all at QB. Javonte Williams looks like I've played Javonte Williams with Hunter, breaks every tackle. Hunter had a very disappointing Week 1 loss to the Chiefs, which I think would have surprised the entire league. The Chiefs is probably someone you'd bet against in Survivor Pool, and I'm very shocked because Hunter has made the playoffs before, and Hunter to lose to someone like T-Chap is very surprising. Needs an upgrade in the wide receiver room for sure. Oh, got Donovan Callaway, who is a superstar, I believe, and 97 speed, 98 excel, so super elite there. Marvin Mims is okay, so the three wide receivers are alright. Needs an upgrade at tight end. Braxton Jones is good. I'd like to see the offensive line a little bit better, just because Hunter is a guy who relies on the run, but this is where Hunter's team is very elite on the defense. Baron Brownie is a very elite edge rusher, up to 89 speed, 93 excel. Nick Bonito, 90 speed, 92 excel. David Ojabo, same thing, 89, 90. Defensive tackle could use some work. If he could get a run stuffer, I think that'd really help his edge rushers out. Drew Sanders got the superstar, 6'5", 84 speed. That's pretty good too. And then, you have Surtain, so that's elite. Jamie McLaughlin looks really good. And then this Devin Barnett looks okay. Safeties are a little bit lackluster, so I'd like to see an improvement there. The Broncos probably had an S-tier draft just based off that wide receiver alone. Yeah, superstar wide receiver, star corner, star left guard, star fullback, 93 speed corner as well. So their draft was very good. I actually really like this Broncos team roster-wise. I don't believe Hunter is going to take his team to the playoffs. I think he is going to be on the cusp of a playoff berth, but I just don't think he's going to get it. So moving on, let's go to the Chargers. We saw them get absolutely demolished in the playoffs with Justin Herbert. Don't like Justin Herbert at all. Really downgraded at running back position, getting rid of Jalen Wright for DeAndre Swift. I thought that was a very controversial and terrible move. Rashid Shaheed's turned into an elite wide receiver. Darius Davis is all right. Marquise Brown is old, So I feel like they're due for a wide receiver 3 upgrade. Traded for Dawson Knox, and I really like this move. Last year relied on Jonnu Smith a lot, and now they have like an elite tight end, or at least a better tight end. Rashawn Slater's amazing. He just needs a dev. The interior O line needs some work for sure, but you have two elite tackles. Tuli Tupelotu has developed very well for Stinky. Chase Young and Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy plays on the interior, has inside stuff, so his D line's very good. DeMarvion Overshawn has one of my guys I developed is gonna get Lurker pretty soon, and 6'2" Lurker is very good to have. And DBs, Asante Samuel, really good. Starling Thomas, Jerry Jones, all have devs. Just a little bit short. Other than that, you can't really complain. Traded for Cole Bishop, who had an amazing week 1, and safety, pretty terrible. Given the Stinky's history, I think he's a clear Super Bowl contender. But both these teams made the Super Bowl the previous and the year before, last year. And I think these are the cream of the crop AFC teams to have. And I think that rounds out the AFC spots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, my prediction for the AFC playoffs are the Chargers, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jags, and the Texans. So sorry for spoilers, Raiders and Chiefs. I don't have you guys going. So let's go over to the Chiefs. Really love this team. Have Patrick Mahomes. Not going to talk about him. Have a really elite Felix Bass running back, and then they do have a superstar running back in this Henry Hicks, I believe, who they drafted. Did have an elite, like a SSS plus tier wide receiver core, but I think they made the right move trading Xavier Worthy and got a bunch of pieces around them. So they have DK, traded for Brandon Hart, who's 93 speed, 6 foot, and X Factor, and only 23. And then they have 6'8" Pat McCullough, who's 90 speed as well. Drafted Connor Watts from the trade with the Packers, and he's an X Factor, 6'5", 22, 85 speed, super elite. These two tackles here, Kingsley Suamaitai and Nazir Minter, are getting to that S tier status. Really good offensive line. Just could use an upgrade at like center. Defensive line could get there too. Traded for Quay Walker. Quay Walker looks really good. Have Chris Jones. Would probably like to see this guy get traded and get someone younger a little bit. Have Leo Chanel, who rushes the passer, who looks really good too. And then Christian Yates is the user, who's okay. You have Trent McDuffie, Devon Witherspoon, who are very close to both being 99 overalls, and David Drake looks okay too. And then the safety room falls off a little bit, but this team is very, very good with some older pieces. Outside of Mahomes, this is a very young but intriguing team. I really like this team, this Chiefs team, and I think they can develop some really good talent. Never mind. It's Jeff Pagel that's an X Factor. Wow, this dude's only star. That's kind of crazy to me. But nevertheless, have another left tackle that's a superstar running back. So had a really good draft. Week one would surprise the world, surprise the Lord even. And I think they're going to have a lot of fun using this team. Might not translate to wins, but they'll be able to develop some of their guys. And lastly, we have this Raiders team. Traded almost everyone for rookies. So before I even look at the team, let's look and see how the Raiders drafted, because this is their entire team. Drafted a star left guard, a wide receiver who's 91 speed, 6'5", that's pretty good. Edge rusher, star, cornerback who's 93. Missed out on devs like crazy. Wow. Um, so just based off of looking at this alone, I don't like this team at all. Wolfed on so many draft picks. Um, the only reason this team's going to win games is not even because of Jalen Hurts, but it's going to be because of Johnny Wilson, who's 6'8", 89 speed, is going to moss people, and Brock Bowers. Um, if he's able to moss you with Brock Bowers and Johnny Wilson, you're going to lose the game. But outside of that, you're not really going to lose. You're not really going to win with that Raiders team just because of how bad that draft was. So I'm going to put them in a number one pick contention just because I think that's probably the best trajectory for this team is you're not trying to win, you're trying to develop your rookies, and so many guys are young and low overalls. I find it hard to win games with that team. So let's move on to the NFC West. And I guess we'll start with the Rams. Have Dak Prescott, who is getting up there in age, but he's still an X factor and above 90 overall, which is really good for him. These running back, this Devin Paul looks pretty good. Wide receiver room, Puka is amazing. This Jalen Washington looks good. Braylon Franklin looks okay too. Keon Jones looks good. Signed Jake Ferguson to a contract. This offensive line looks like it's developing pretty well. And then Braden Fisk looks like he's a very good defensive tackle. Byron Young looks very fast and very good, just doesn't have the abilities. Cam Burgess is another defensive tackle player that looks amazing. Tremaine Edmonds is a okay user. He is getting up there in age, so not necessarily someone I would assign to my team. J.C. Horn looks amazing. Got superstar. Outside of that, these two DBs look okay. This Corey Westbrook, is this the rookie? No, it's 6'4", looks pretty good. Then safety room leaves a lot to be desired. And I am going to have the Rams as a missing playoff team. I don't see a path to them being a potential wild card team. They do have Dak Prescott, but I just don't see where the team is going to make a playoff spot or have a playoff run. So let's go over to my team. Actually, before we do that, let me look at the Rams rookies. Did they draft? Drafted. Okay, so this wide receiver is a superstar. This corner is a superstar. They're just both slow. Yeah, they had an okay draft. Don't mind that. And let's go over to my team. You have Tommy Campbell, who went up in 2 throw power, normal dev. Most people probably wouldn't want him. He's 22, but his deep accuracy is terrible, and I'm just trying to run people over. Dylan Childress is the best receiving back in the league. Has the highest receiving stats, superstar, and he's fast, so he looks good. Tyreek Hill, best special teams player in the NFL at the moment, does not start. Colin Johnson is a great starter. Trey Tucker went up to star dev, and just some pretty fast and young guys to develop. Tight end is this Mitchell Malone, who's 6'6" and 86 speed, so I can't complain there. Probably best offensive line in the league with a superstar left tackle, and then superstars across the board, and then a star young tackle. George Karlaftis went at the superstar. Tomimi Adebawore is the best defensive tackle in the game with 89 speed and 92 excel. Leon Henderson's very elite. He's I take that back. He's okay. 92 speed and 6 foot, but does have a dev. And then corner wise, best corner in the game too. 6'4" Tariq Woolen with 98 speed, and then just all right supporting cast around him. Safeties, you have 6'3" Rashad French, 6'3" Dion Klein, and Brian Branch, who plays in the slot, and then 6'3" Kalen Saunders. Um, I'm putting this right now. I'm winning the division, and I'm putting myself in Super Bowl contention. I didn't make the playoffs last year. Took a 2-week break and just focused on really developing my younger guys. So that's what I really focused on. And then I think my draft was okay. Yeah, I got Tyler Young, who doesn't even play, and then doesn't start. Daniel Pendleton plays and dime. So draft didn't really do anything. But I'm back. I won a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, and I'm here to reclaim my crown in the NFC West. Next is the Cardinals. Traded for Desmond Ridder, which brings me pain because we had to all deal with Desmond Ridder on the Falcons last year, who torched the entire league. Has Jonathan Taylor, who's really good, Marvin Harrison and Ladd, and this John Madden look very good. So it doesn't really have a hole on the offense. Offensive line has Paris Johnson and Colton Miller, so could use some work there. BJ Ojolari looks good. Zaven Collins, would prefer him as like a user as 6'4", and then need some work on the interior. So if you guys did not know, this Cardinals user is a defensive line user, so it wouldn't shock me if he goes to get a move to user a guy on the defensive line who is elite. That way he can maximize what his users are able to do on a down-to-down basis. Has this X Factor, Pierre Mumphrey with 87 speed and 89 XL. That's pretty good to have. This guy's probably an edge rusher for you. And then DBs, Max Melton looks good, Stephen Phillips looks good, and then Terrell Smith looks okay, so needs an upgrade at cornerback 3. Safety has Troy Garrison, who looks really good. And then Buda Baker's really good too, but getting up there in age. And then this Debo Coulter would be my user. I think this Cardinals team is very fun. They're going to go in this young and intriguing category. A lot of players to develop, but I just don't see a place where they make the playoffs. I'll put them in this missing playoff team. They're on the edge of this potential wild card missing playoff team for me. I see a vision of them getting like the 7 seed. How many teams do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, I already have my 7 filled out. So let me look at this rookie class by the Cardinals. Wrong team. Yeah, this rookie class was just a whole bunch of mid too. So didn't improve through the draft. I'm gonna have them missing the playoffs, but if he can get a guy that he can user on the D line, going against a D line user is hell, because if you do not double team them every single play, and they have abilities, they will come in free even if you have a superstar. So let's go to this last team, the 49ers. I think this team is terrible. Absolutely got ramrodded in season 1 with the trade. They have Brock Purdy, who they paid, who they franchise tagged. Don't like him at all. Conrad Payne would be the starter for me. Christian McCaffrey's old and 31 years old. No thanks. Brandon Ayuk is old. Deebo Samuel's old. Ricky Pearsall hasn't developed. Tony Bennett is the best player on this offense. Kittle's old. Left tackle, Jedrick. The offensive line is okay. Defensive end, Nick Bosa is 29, so he's good there. Defensive tackle, nothing impresses me. Fred Warner's elite. Gets the Lurk Artist, which puts him in the S tier category. Cornerbacks, everything's terrible. Even Isaiah Bolden, I wouldn't want starting because he's 27. Um, and then the safety room was so terrible last year as well. Having 82 speed Stephon Gilmore out on your field is terrible. Josh Thompson, sure these guys have speed, but they're all terrible. They're not fast. And then Justin Simmons is 84 speed, so no thank you with that. Even though he has abilities, he's not fast enough to get to your wide receiver and get a knockout. So gonna get beat over the top, and then this guy's hasn't been developed well. Malik Mustafa should have been a starter day one. So that entire offense and defense just doesn't surprise me. I'm not going to put him in mediocre at best because Nick is a good user. I'd put him in potential wild card. He because of Nick's user, he is going to be a potential wild card, and because of guys like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, but I just don't see any longevity of this team. And with your best players getting old and slow, I just don't see a future for this team, especially having to pay Brock Purdy and you're negative, 30, 40 mil. So no thank you to that. And this concludes your Doc's tiers. No bias at all with me being right here at all. Just straight facts. So thank you guys, and have a good